Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And in the aftermath of Sturgeon's shock resignation, one can only say that the silence is deafening. In this case, the silence is referring to that lack of clarion call for new and fresh elections. Remembering that Sturgeon called for elections when Johnson was turfed out and Truss was put in, and again when Truss was replaced by Sunak. On both occasions, she said there was a lack of democratic mandate for a new Prime Minister and that it deserved a new set of elections. And yet, strangely, no one has called for elections in Scotland, even though they're going to get a new First Minister. Why not? Is Sturgeon a hypocrite or a realist who knows that if she called for an election now, the SNP would be out? Oh, I think we can guess the answer to that one. Anyway, let's have a look at this article and see why she is so silent. Right then, the curious case of a strangely silent Nicola Sturgeon after her tearful press conference that lasted 18 minutes and had 135 eyes in it and only mentioned Scotland 11 times. It's all me, isn't it, Nicola? It's all me. Anyway, when Theresa May quit as Prime Minister back in 2019, there was a swift and, of course, predictable response from the Scottish First Minuscule, Nicola Sturgeon. She said after giving tribute to May's service to the country, she twisted the knife, saying given current circumstances, it also feels deeply wrong for another Tory to be installed at number 10 without a general election. This is a woman who doesn't obviously understand how an election system runs in this country. You don't vote for an individual. We don't have presidents. We have parties, and the Tory party remain the biggest party. And then they choose who their leader is, and their leader is installed as their Prime Minister. But however, when May's successor fell last summer, Sturgeon's tribute described Boris Johnson as a disgrace to the office, but she still couldn't resist rattling the tin for another election. One Prime Minister that we did not vote for, replaced by yet another Prime Minister that we did not vote for and would not vote for given the chance. As I say, you don't vote for Prime Ministers, you vote for parties. Incidentally, she says that he is a disgrace to the office. His reasoning was that he had a party during lockdown, and that made him a disgrace to the office. What will Sturgeon be if the police investigate this £600,000 and it doesn't turn out how Sturgeon thinks it's going to be? Who will be the disgrace to the office then? Anyway, moving on. For Scotland, the Westminster system doesn't represent our best interests, and that is why we don't just need a change of Prime Minister. Scotland needs a permanent alternative to Westminster. They've got one. It's called the Scottish Parliament. It was headed by you, Sturgeon, and it has done nothing but damage Scotland horrendously. By the time Liz Truss quit after 49 days in office, Sturgeon had got into her stride by now. In the interest of the Tory party should concern no one, she said. A general election is now a democratic imperative. And there she is. And that was her speech. That was her resignation speech. That's the picture of it, in which she failed totally to request an election because there's a change of leader. But surely, given that she's called for it 3 times, she'd be very, very enthusiastic to show the rest of the country how it should be done, and that a general election in Scotland should be forthcoming with immediate effect, because otherwise you're going to get a Prime Minister that nobody voted for. Isn't that right, Nicola? Or is it not going to happen because you know the result? You know the result. So what about that new Scottish elections? Now that the First Minister will be packing her bags and leaving, we should be getting a new election. But it won't happen, will it? Because hypocrisy and cant. That's all that is. But there she is, hypocrite to the end. She makes these pledges. She says, "Oh, look at this," makes these points. Oh, we should have new elections. Won't call for it herself because does not want to be judged on the same level field as she judges others. And there it is. The most obnoxious little dwarf going to her pretend home in Glasgow, because that's not actually, of course, her home. Her home is much, much nicer out in the wilds of Scotland, much bigger, paid for predominantly, of course, by the Scottish taxpayer. But that's Nicola Sturgeon for you, two-faced and hypocritical. Anyway, I shall round there, come up and finish the video. Of course, I'm not surprised, and I don't think anyone is surprised at all that Nicola Sturgeon says one thing and yet does another, that she uses every available opportunity to run down her enemies and refuses point blank to acknowledge the same failings in her own warped soul. But there she goes. She's saying that, we must have a change of government. Got to have an election. Got to have an election. Okay then, Nicola, you call an election and show us that you're not a hypocrite. And then there was silence. Silence still as, you like. There's nothing. Not a ripple. Not a murmur. Because she knows, like I say, she knows full well the result. But will the incoming leader, whoever that may or may not be, he or she or it or they will be, will that leader call an election straight away to say, this is what we've got to do. We've got to do this right. I'm going to show that I come in and I can come in with a mandate. No, they won't do that either, because this is the SNP. They get hold of power and they cling on to it for grim death. I mean, they'll be locking their little sad talons into the corpse of Scotland just to maintain their grip on power. Never mind who is harmed, who is made miserable, who is unemployed, who is made, ill, who sees their schools close. All these things that have happened at the SNP. And it's the people of Scotland should be calling for a new election. The people of Scotland who deserve better. Better than that party. Better than that leader. And the trouble is, whoever comes in, whoever emerges from the pile of crap that is the leadership of the SNP, whoever emerges victorious, will not be any better than Nicola Sturgeon. And is likely going to be way, way worse. So, good luck. I mean, that's all I can say. You're going to have to, select the shiniest one of the polished turds. The little glittery turds that we presented, and then the SNP voters will pick one at random, and that'll be imposed, and that'll be it, and that's it. And then the people of Scotland who didn't vote SNP will have a new glittery turd to lead them bravely into the future until the next general election, where hopefully common sense will prevail. Thank you very much for listening. Well, if you do like what you hear and see on the channel, do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring that bell for notification of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment. Please, please, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, never trust short politicians, and goodbye.